and start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so we will not have Mrs. Polish with us this evening. Dr. Larkin is just a bit delayed, and he'll be joining us shortly. So we only have, well, first of all, has anyone signed up for open forum? Thank you. We only have one item on our agenda for discussion tonight, and that, under old business, is to review and discuss the 5-year capital plan. So, Dr. Sanchioni, did you want to start things off?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Let me just review some of the information we sent to you to have this conversation this evening. In the order that it is in your packet, but certainly not the order of importance. The first thing is a memo going to the town administrator highlighting the $2 million that was originally allocated to the school system last year that helped pay a lot of our capital projects. So I've outlined to you those projects, what the allocated amount was, what the final cost was, where it is. All of them have been completed at this time, other than the high school bathroom project, which is starting this month. But again, you can see that this worked exceptionally well for us, and there was a rather large reimbursement coming our way through RIDE. The next document outlines the projects that you may recall at your last meeting, prioritized as our next submission of capital projects. Ms. Farnworth and I were at the town council meeting. We put in the renovate the high school locker room bathrooms as our number one priority, outline some other things that are listed there. And again, on this one, I show the potential reimbursements of what could be funded, and also show a plan of how all of these projects could be funded based upon funding just one more project this year and the past projects that are generating some significant reimbursements for us. The next documents you have in your packet is the 5-year capital plan. I can share some information with you on that as we go. I know there's some questions how this was created. It was created a couple years ago with the assistance of our architect, RGB. We brought in consultants, multiple consultants to go through this: mechanical, electrical, plumbing, civil, structural, and technology engineers. We also walked the building with 2 consultants from RIDE, one of them being Mario. We walked the high school and the middle school, our 2 projects, our 2 schools that probably need the most work done. We work with an educational planning consultant. Every principal was involved in this, along with Ms. Roderick and I, who were on all the tours. So the 5-year capital plan was developed because, as you know, that was the first step toward seeking any future reimbursements to RIDE. You have to have a 5-year capital plan. From that, you can pick items off the plan that then you can submit. The good thing about a 5-year capital plan, it is amendable. So we've, along the way, we have changed a few things, but certainly we can continue to discuss this with you. The next thing you have in your packet is an outline of the bathroom projects. So I believe someone had made this request at our last meeting. So you have the high school, and it shows you, I actually wrote in and circled the bathrooms that are not yet complete. And so you can see that all the student bathrooms are complete. It's just bathrooms used by basically our staff and in our nurse's office. Then you have the middle school. And again, I've done the same thing there for you. I've outlined all the bathrooms that are not complete yet. There is one student bathroom that is not complete. You can see I've outlined that for you there, but a lot of great work has been done. And then the last thing I gave you is a document, which is the request to begin a new stage 1 application. You can see that Dr. Larkin and I signed this. We're looking for the town to sign this. And as you know, stage 1 is simply identifying that Tiverton has a need. It doesn't define what the need is, but it gets the clock ticking so that then we can submit a stage 2. So if we can get this document signed in before September 15th, then we would have between September and February to work on a stage 2 proposal that certainly the building committee would be involved with, the school committee wouldn't be involved in, and certainly we would involve the town council at much higher levels than we did in the past. So I believe this was most of the information that you were looking for to have this conversation this evening. So I'll pause there, answer any questions, and go from there.
Okay. If you don't mind, I'll kick it off, and then we'll kind of take turns, if that makes sense. Okay. So the first document you gave to us, which was the summary from the FY22 request, the $2 million.
Yeah, the allocation, yep.
Right. Yeah, the allocation. All of those projects are now complete, with the exception of the high school bathrooms. What's the process for us getting the funding in from the town for this?
I assume you're referring to the reimbursement.
Just the town reimbursement, not the state, not RIDE's
Oh, the
reimbursement.
2 million.
In other words, they did the allocation for the 2 million, whatever the number was, and they have a list. And I'm asking you this because at the town council meeting a couple of weeks ago, they had mention of the schools having finished, their notes only had 2 items being finished. And I'm thinking, is it just a timing thing? That, how do we communicate that things are finished? Is there a transfer of money?
So I'll let Ms. Roderick address the money transfer. However, I would say to you that this document you're seeing right now that's dated September 12th, there was a previous one done about 4 months ago. I can retrieve it for you and get the exact date. So I did try to update the town council as things were done. So they certainly had been appraised that most of these were in the process of being in. At the time I sent that document, I would say to you, every project at the top list there was completed other than the tennis windscreens, and that we were working on all the others. So it's great then that they're going to get this document to give them a final update. But as far as the money transfer.
Thank you. So the process is very similar to the appropriations process, where we issue checks for invoices that have come in, and then we send that list over to the town to fund that, basically from our appropriation. So to do the capital is exactly the same. And I can tell you that looking at this list, in terms of invoices, I know that the dishwasher and the steamer were fully installed just before the beginning of school, so we had only just received those invoices. And I also instructed my staff not to pay them until it's fully installed and inspected and so forth. So in terms of those being completed, the town, if we haven't sent them over already, and I would have to check on that, they'll be forthcoming shortly.
Process, okay.
Very shortly. Also the windscreens, we just got the invoice for that last week, and so I'm working with my office to send that over. So I believe that we have sent over the siding at Ranger School, the intercom at THS, and I understood that we had sent over the lawnmowers, but I can double check on that. Okay. In terms of the middle school bathrooms, we have not yet received the final billing from Martone. When we do, we will pay them and then send the request over to the town. The stadium lights, I'm still waiting on that invoice. I've been, the gentleman that we spoke about at the light demonstration is working on getting us. I told them that we needed a formal invoice in total for the whole project so that we could be reimbursed. So long answer to your short question is it's a timing issue.
No, I mean, thank you. That's a very thorough answer. And by the way, great job on the lights.
Thank you.
I had fun watching them.
It was fun, and it was fun watching some of the football players. They were out there tossing the ball around after practice, and it was great to see.
Okay. And just sticking with this particular list, and this is more of a question that perhaps is best for the town council. The allocation that was given to us was, I think, 2 million even?
Correct.
And it looks like we're going to spend about $71,000 shy of that in total?
Well, we haven't opened up those bathrooms at the high school yet, and as you know from last time, we had some surprises, so that 70,000 may be compromised once we look what's behind the walls here.
Okay, so it's kind of early yet to have a discussion over what would happen with any extra funds. Okay. All right, I will allow others to ask some questions. Billy? No? Mike?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. So I think that's all I had on this current year's appropriation. So for the next request for casino funding, So, yeah, Dr. Sanchioni, we as a committee voted on a list to submit to the town council at our last meeting. And you did explain to the council what every item was on that list. I think you and I had a little difference of opinion on one of those items, and I think your next communication has that straightened out. But I do see, one of the mentions that evening was that the town is going to need to perhaps put together an ordinance to allow the flow of funds from the ride reimbursements to come back to us or be restricted for the school buildings. Has there been any other conversation on that at all?
Not directly with Town Administrator Chris Cotter, but, what you saw that evening, I think we could both confer that there seemed to be a very positive reaction, and I think they just need to figure out the process to allow that to happen.
Okay. They also mentioned that they thought that Mario from RIDE had some kind of a boilerplate ordinance. That's how I interpreted it. Have you actually spoken
I
with
hadn't.
him?
I know that they were going to reach out to him, but I can do that, no problem.
Okay. Just curious to see if that's part of the potential solution for
Yeah.
that.
Well, as you can see, as I've outlined, items 2 through 6, if that happens, which again was a very positive reaction by the town council, that's the way 2 through 6 could be completed. And then items 7 and 8 could also be completed off the reimbursements off the projects that were funded in the future. So it's a great opportunity to just keep reinvesting money that the town has allocated to us.
Okay. So, and that is my next point. So the list we voted on 3 weeks ago, was for 2 million, I'm just adding this up, 2,115,073 in total. And the list that it appears you're submitting for next week is much higher than that because you've added the high school media center, and that's not something we've discussed or voted on.
No, I'm not adding that at all. Again, I'm just showing a way to get some projects completed based on reimbursements.
So this list is not to be construed as a request?
No, the only thing we requested was item 1. But if they were to grant 1 triggers an opportunity to do a lot more work.
Our request was our list was the 2.1 million. That was
Correct,
the
but I
request.
think, what we saw that evening and the revenue that's
Well, it may
available,
be.
we all can kind of figure out that
It may be,
there's
but the
practicality.
entire list was the 2.1 million.
Correct.
Okay. And I understand the desire to point out the fact that we're going to be receiving significant reimbursements, especially on the locker room renovations, because they go from 35 to 45% reimbursement. I'm correct on that?
You are correct, which,
Okay.
again, tie that back to the media
Right.
center too, and, the advice that, Director Mario Carino has given us, that it's nice to send in safety requests and they'll get funded, but, we have these one-time opportunities with the reimbursements that were passed by the legislator that are only available this year. The suggestion is to always try to maximize those reimbursements based on anything we can submit educationally, so hence why the media center is there.
Okay. I also don't have a clear understanding as to what we can expect to be the timing of reimbursements. Can you shed any light on that?
From RIDE?
Yeah, I realize that the 1.2 million was already included in a stage 2 submission going back a ways. So I would assume that any work done there, we could submit the reimbursements for as soon as that project is complete, when it kicks off, if it's approved.
It depends.
Yeah.
May I?
Go ahead.
Okay. So the middle school bathrooms, that reimbursement was under a quote-unquote emergency request, up to $500,000. That is a pay-as-you-go request. As soon as that's complete and we have the certification from the architects that the job, they've signed off on it, we can submit that. The other projects, which are under our formal stage, I guess it's stage 4 MOA, That gets requested at the end of the school year. That is not pay-as-you-go for the most part. There may be a few exceptions in between. I know Mario mentioned that, but for the most part, the larger projects, we have to submit those forms to RIDE by July 15th. And then within the next, month or two, we get the reimbursement. It goes to the town directly. And to loop this back to your earlier question, when we submit our requests to RIDE for that reimbursement, we loop in the treasurer, which will then hopefully also facilitate the special revenue fund that they were speaking about. So we can do that as well.
Yeah, that is something they're going to have to establish by ordinance, from what I understood.
No, I understand, but we do, every time we do send our request to RIDE, we let the town know, because the money goes directly into the town bank account, not our bank account.
And you don't want them wondering about money from the sky.
Great.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that. And so we have the emergency approval for the middle school bathrooms, and that was at 500,000? Okay. And then we have a second phase 2. Is it phase 2? What am I thinking? It's another word.
It's stage 2.
Stage 2, thank you. That includes the 1.2 million for the locker rooms. It includes the lights for the 290,000.
Everything else that's on the first document.
And everything else on that first list except for the middle school bathrooms. Got it. Right, thank you. That's just so that I understand what we've already committed to on a submission to RIDE and what we have not necessarily thus far. Now, the town has not committed to the locker room renovation as of yet, but RIDE is ready to go as far as that piece is concerned. Does anyone have any questions so far on any of this? Am I hopefully not getting too far into the weeds? Okay. The capital plan that you gave us, let me just make sure I didn't have any other questions. And this is clearly a whittled down version. The initial version that I had gotten a copy from the end of last year was a little higher than that. It was 24 million, 24,578, and then this one is 21,777.
Right, so projects that were completed that were on the original plan have been removed.
Could, and if we need to vote on this, that's fine. Could we have those added back and just noted that they have been completed so that we can kind of keep track of the items that we have committed to and moved forward with taking care of?
Sure.
Is that a possibility?
Yeah, and we, as you know, we did that. We color-coded it. It seemed to confuse people, but, which is why we gave you a document that just shows what our needs are. But if you
Yeah.
want it back, we can work.
Yeah, I mean, here's my thinking on this. For the purposes of the school committee, I'm not so sure your FY 1 through 5 delineations are really something we need to be terribly concerned with. Certainly the building committee would, to put their focus on. But it doesn't really, for us, I don't think, hold the same importance. So I'm thinking, perhaps instead of showing the 1 through 5, perhaps just showing, if we're in process with one item, if we've completed one item, and even, have reimbursements been received, so that we can kind of keep an eye on how much we've generated in reimbursements over the course of this 5-year plan. And I thank you for your explanation for how it was created. Did we ever vote on this plan?
You did. You voted it. You voted it a couple times. Initially, on March 16th, and then on March 15th, excuse me,
Of,
20, well, there was an original, hold on. I'm sorry, the first vote was February 14th of 2022.
okay, I'll have to go back and look at the minutes. I did not see that in the minutes when I was doing some research on that today.
Okay.
And that was the entire 24 million? Is that what that was?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, thank you. All right.
But again, I'll restate a point I was making earlier, that, this is amenable. So, if we want to have another architect look at it, or...
Well, I think one thing that kind of bothers me is that there wasn't, the building committee itself hasn't really had the opportunity to go through the schools and look at, and talk about the needs. And I'm talking about not only some of these health and safety issues, but some of the things that we could and should be thinking about to make sure that our schools, all 5 of them, are up to 21st century standards for not only health and safety, but learning. I know you're making certain strides there, and definitely attempts. You've got the locker rooms, you definitely are talking about some of the CTE spaces, you're talking about the media centers, but I don't know if that's all of it. And I don't think that we as a body have had that opportunity either to kind of have that in-depth discussion. And so I'm wondering, and here comes Dr. Larkin now, I'm wondering if it would make sense perhaps to have a joint session with us and the building committee and schedule that quote-unquote walkthrough where we can have that deep discussion looking at all of the spaces. Or, maybe the elementary school's one of them because they're all essentially around the same age. So in their cases, I would have to think it's more health and safety rather than educational enhancements, although you might tell us differently. But the middle school and the high school in particular, being as old as they are, and the fact that we've made such a large commitment to them, first of all, by doing the heating and the roof work that's been done, we've committed to these buildings, and I think that's probably where the primary focus would be of such a collaboration. Did you get what I was proposing?
I agree.
No, you didn't get, okay. So anyway, Dr. Larkin is now here. I will yield to him for additional questions.
I was going to say, why don't you
Okay,
continue
I
to
can
run,
continue. I
actually?
can continue.
Sorry, I got caught up at work. I could
Yeah.
not get out.
No, it's fine. So far, we've gone through last year's appropriation and where we stand with everything. We've gone through, we've
Okay.
reviewed the request that was submitted to the town council on August 25th, I guess it was.
Yep.
We've had a brief discussion over the memo that Dr. Sanchioni gave us for September 12th, in which he actually adds the media center at the high school to that list. And then kind of a high-level overview of the capital plan, understanding when it was voted on. I had made a suggestion perhaps that we, instead of tracking things out years 1 through 5, at least for the purposes of the school committee, that we could maybe use it more as a punch list and a starting point. Dr. Sanchioni mentioned that it can be edited, adjusted, I would assume added to. And that was where, when you walked in, my suggestion is that perhaps we as a school committee have a, collaboration with the building committee, maybe a walkthrough, a meeting and a walkthrough of the schools to start talking about some of those items that we can think about that are not only health and safety, but items that can bring our schools up to 21st century standards. And that is as far as we have gotten.
Thanks, and thanks for
Here's your Cliff Notes.
covering. So if Just to jump back to are we going to talk about the meeting on the 12th again further, Peter, or was that
We haven't
the-
discussed that yet, Dr. Larkin.
We haven't-
Okay,
no.
all right. So, yeah, I don't know if others have other points. So we're talking about really reviewing the capital plan with this committee. I don't know. Mrs. Pavo, anything to say about that? No. Mr. Dakotas?
No.
So I agree. I think I would go kind of line by line, either in the building committee, in the building committee and in this committee, or maybe jointly, to sort of understand what each thing actually entails, as well as,
If I may suggest,
Yeah.
Dr. Larkin,
Go ahead.
I know one of the topics you want to discuss tonight is where we go with an architectural firm.
yeah,
If it is a committee's purview to go out to bid again for a firm, I would suggest that that firm come on and let us work with them first, and then take the step you're proposing.
okay. Yeah, which, I mean, it's a 5-year plan for which we have, several months ahead of us before we even submit something else to RIDE. I don't know, Diane, did you have other thoughts about that?
No, I can get behind that, and glad to hear it's on the agenda for discussion.
Okay. Sorry, I'm a little behind. So I guess that brings up, another thing we wanted to discuss tonight was where we are in the timeline with sort of the work that RGB is doing now, when that will be completed, and then when we decide about going out for bid for a new architect.
Sure, the update on that is there's one project left to be completed that was started by RGB, which is the high school bathrooms. That project is starting this month, hopefully to be completed. We're hoping, that January, February timeframe. After that, we were waiting to see what project would be funded next. With that information in hand, then we thought we would be able to go out for an architect, at least explain to them, for example, if the locker room bathroom project was funded, we could go to an architect then and say, all right, this is the first thing we need you to work on. Sounds now too that working on the 5-year plan, reviewing that would be something the committee would be interested in having them do. So, I just thought with some greater clarity, it would help an architectural firm actually bid on something. So if you want to wait until the town council makes a final decision on revenue, right after that, then we could lay out what our plans are.
Okay.
But just to confirm, that is, and I know we've spoken about this, and that is the course of direction the committee wishes to take, for us to go out for an RFP for architect.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Unless
And we
others
can
have.
revote it today if you'd like.
Yeah.
No, I think you have, and
We-
we've been open with our current architect, as you know, and it's all good.
Okay.
Okay. Mike or Elaine, any other thoughts about that?
No.
Okay. So, Peter, again, tell me again, when you think the work at the high school is going to be completed?
Supposed to start this month, and we're hoping January, February.
Okay.
It's 8 bathrooms, and they're supposed to take them one at a time, work nights and weekends, and so, supply chain issues, as you know, delayed the middle school, so it could be a little longer, but
Okay.
let's hope for the best.
All right.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
And this is in relation to the requests that we've made. I know, Dr. Sanchioni, your priority is to advocate for the locker rooms, like loud and clear. We also have a number of security upgrades here, and my question is, realistically, when could we actually start any of those items, and how long would it take? If let's say we were awarded all of our requests, I mean, what's the realistic timeline on those? Without
So
having an architect?
Well, we would get an architect on board
Yeah.
to help with that, but I would say to you, if things work out and that $767,000 is allocated back to the schools, items 2 through 6 could be paid for that reimbursement. Those reimbursements are coming in this year. So we would work with a firm to get those things started as soon as possible. I would say, after the first of the year at the latest.
As opposed to it being, I mean, they could theoretically allocate that from the casino money as well.
If they did that, we would start immediately, obviously.
Okay.
Immediately, as soon as we have an architect.
Yes.
Because we still have to go for a phase 2 submission.
For those things.
For all of that.
We do.
So the only thing that's actually approved through RIDE are the locker rooms.
Right, right.
So the security, the other parts of that, the other sort of roughly $700,000, we would need to have in the phase 2 or stage 2. Is it stage or phase? I keep on.
Stage
That's
2.
what I thought it was, stage 2. The stage 2 would be submitted February, approved presumably in May. And so then the work would be probably next summer, something like that.
Yeah.
Which sort of lines up with
It would be perfect.
going through the plan, getting a new architect or an architect. For all we know, RGB would bid and kind of, who knows? And then kind of go from there.
If I also could just add one more thing. We really need to get a good idea from the town council on expectations for providing those reimbursements back to us timing-wise. It really is their call, not ours.
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure that we all have the same understanding, that we can't just assume, because we will eventually get a reimbursement, that we can move on anything. They may, just as they're doing with the casino money, they're waiting for the fiscal year to close before they even start talking
Right.
about appropriations.
Well, all the money goes back to and is held by the treasurer, and they were talking with Mike about how they would frame their vote in order to either do that or not do it, I guess. So.
Can you share with us your discussion?
No, I thought that was discussed at the meeting.
So you were talking with Mike.
No, they were.
Oh.
I wasn't talking with anybody.
Sorry, I misunderstood.
I let the record reflect that I was not talking to the solicitor of the town council about anything,
Or any other Mike.
or any other Mike. No, I believe the town council at their meeting a couple weeks ago was asking Mike how they would actually, Mike,
Their solicitor?
Mike the solicitor.
Yeah, he wasn't at the meeting,
Mike
but
the
they
lawyer.
definitely will be.
Mark Marcello.
Yeah,
They were going to talk
definitely-
with him about how they would frame the,
Yeah. So I just think, I wanted us all to remember that that's kind of an open question that we can't answer.
right.
If I may just add 2 cents, if the town passes the ordinance to have the reimbursements come back to the school, my expectation, at least from an accounting standpoint, would be that that would go into a special revenue fund, and assuming there are no provisions as part of the ordinance, that would be available as soon as the reimbursement came in, again, depending on the restrictions that the town sets up. So it would depend. I would hope that if they set it up as a special revenue fund and the money came in, it would be immediately available to us. And I would hope that we could advocate for that, just to kind of keep the process rolling.
yeah.
Is there a difference between a special revenue fund and just a restricted capital account? Because I've heard that word.
Yeah, it sounds like
Used
it's
to-
sort of the same thing, I would think.
It's,
Sounds like it is.
so the name of the special revenue fund would be restricted capital.
Okay.
Special revenue funds are most often sort of a quote-unquote revolving fund, and in this case, that's what that would be. We would get a reimbursement, it would go in, we would take money out, we would get another reimbursement, it would go in, so on and so forth. What we decide to call it, restricted capital, if they so choose to keep that as part of their fund balance as a restricted capital, that's a little bit different. I know there are some differences of opinion, or if I recall correctly, how we want to quote-unquote account for it and who has what say over it. Again, that's entirely up to the town council. That will be the biggest predictor and indicator of how quickly we can access those funds.
I agree with you 100%, and it's just those discussions haven't happened.
Right.
Yeah, they have to make the decision first, and then they're essentially allocating it for specific purposes, I would think. All right. So So that's kind of the discussion of the issue around the timeline of the current work as well as the RFP for an architect, and then when we actually go align, kind of review the capital plan as they all kind of articulate with each other. So the other, did you guys go through the timeline of the creation of the capital plan and the dates votes taken and submitted to RIDE at all?
I have not asked about when it was submitted to RIDE. Dr. Sanchioni has told me that we voted on it February 14th.
February 14th of 2020?
Two.
22, yeah,
Yep.
whatever. 2022, it's all a number. Okay,
So it was submitted to RIDE shortly thereafter?
Submitted to RIDE on February 15th, 2022.
okay. Not the stage 2.
Well, that is the stage 2. The 5-year capital plan went in with the stage 2.
As a separate submission?
Yep.
With the
That
stage 2.
justified the request for a stage 2.
Okay.
Okay, that's,
So that was essentially backup for the stage
Exactly.
2, was you also
So
have
he
this
could see
greater.
that we were taking projects off that list.
Okay. And that, it's always important to point out this process is a little bit different from how it's been done in the,
Correct.
how we did it through our last 5-year plan and the renovation of the high school and the middle schools. So we all kind of, there's part of the reason why I wanted to have this meeting was so that we could kind of make sure we all understand that process.
and I totally agree with you. And, that is why I would like to see more participation as we relook at this plan with both the building committee and the school committee, because I think, to me, these are the people that are going to advocate for you. They're representatives from our town, and that us and members of the building committee, and without our involvement at really that micro level of understanding each and every item on that plan and anything that gets added to it, it's going to be difficult for us to understand how to advocate for it.
Okay. And the other thing we just wanted to review again as we're kind of preparing to go through the process of the stage 1 and the stage 2 was how the plan was arrived at. So Peter, I don't know if you want to kind of walk us through that again too.
So to be specific, the plan for...
The 5-year capital plan. So again, sorry, I missed the first part of the meeting. I don't think you guys discussed that before I came in.
No.
So, and I just want to, for all of us, for the public who might be watching or maybe watching later, kind of what that process was, when it was initiated, the consultants used, and sort of all the
Yeah.
work you guys did with the principals and RGB and stuff like that.
So we began the creation of the new 5-year plan early in 2022. We had consultants come in, we had an educational planner sit with every principal. I was at every one of those meetings, go through the building and talk about the educational enhancements at each building, hence, why you see things like media centers on there. Then we had a mechanical engineer, an electrical engineer, a plumbing engineer, a civil instructional engineer, and a technology engineers assess each building too. So as you know, the 5-year capital plan was, we paid a lot of money for that, but a lot of people worked to create it, and hence why you have things on there that we need new windows, or if we need a boiler, or things like that. Everything was assessed in every building. That plan was then reviewed, I guess informally with Mario and another rep from RIDE. I'm going to draw a blank on his name. We walked the building with the high school and the middle school
Joe
with
Silva?
him. Thank you. Thank you. Prior to the submittal to RIDE, again, that's where we were getting a lot of coaching on reimbursements and things that the legislature was going to do and so forth. So that's how the 5-year plan was created. It was submitted to RIDE as part of our Stage 2 plan that went in, that first $2 million. Again, that's how the reimbursements were generated because of the projects that were on there that qualified for reimbursement. Again, we work closely with Mario on that to get the biggest reimbursement possible for the town. And that's how the 5-year plan sits at this time. Again, I'll be repetitive here to say, again, it is amendable. as things come on that we identify, we can add or delete from the plan. We had taken off the projects that were completed. We have a request to put them back on, so we can certainly do that and show what's been completed and what the reimbursements were for projects that were completed. We're happy to do that. So we have a good list, but again, as you heard me recommend, if we're going out for an architect to review, I wouldn't go to the extent that we would initially, unless the committee feels so, to bring in all the engineers, but maybe just have the architect firm walk with us and confer what's on there is what's appropriate, and if they see something different.
Okay, thanks. Any questions from any members of the committee? Mr. Dakotas?
No, thank you.
Mrs. Pavo? And Mrs. Farnworth?
Thank you. I appreciate the explanation.
Okay, and I'm good too, I think, so. All right. I don't know if we could review, we have maps of the two schools, the middle school and high school,
Yep.
in our backup. If we could just kind of do a quick take on, so how many bathrooms have we renovated? How many bathrooms are we going to renovate?
Yep.
And how many remain lurking out there, ready to spring upon us? New leaks.
Okay, so we start with the high school. I did give you the map, and I actually wrote in there. And so what you see are the bathrooms at the high school that have not been renovated. So we have renovated, when the project, again, we're starting this month, when we're finished with the ones that are online, we will have renovated 10 student bathrooms here at the high school. So all the student bathrooms have been completed. And at the high school, you can see there's teachers' bathrooms located a couple places. There's bathrooms in the nurses and the administration office, and there's a couple small bathrooms off the stage. Those would be the only ones left that had not been renovated.
So, wait, I just got to get my map up again. So this is the high school. So the teachers' bathrooms, the nurse and administrative bathrooms, and the stage bathrooms would be the only ones that have not been renovated?
That is correct.
And there's one for the teachers on the third floor, one for the teachers, that's sort of the faculty room, whatever, lounge, whatever it's called. And everything in purple has been renovated?
Correct.
So a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs of student bathrooms.
And
Boy and a
I don't know
girl.
if we have the original.
We do, right
Not student bathrooms, but
Are we doing 8?
standalone bathrooms.
Standalone bathrooms.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and these were done.
Bathrooms for
These
the
were
people.
ones for
Yeah,
the auditorium,
right,
so there's
right. And the
10.
green were already done, so 10 have been completed, the purple and the green.
Purple and the green. There's the green by the auditoriums.
Correct.
So just calling this out, right, you do have the two for the auditorium in here, but a complete auditorium reno is on your capital plan.
It is.
Would that not be the best time to address those issues?
Absolutely. Yep. Again, just showing you the bathrooms, but, any
What issues?
renovation of that, even if you did the administration suite, which is on the capital plan, you would do the bathrooms there too, so.
Well, and that's my other question. What about the administration building? There's nothing here. You guys happy down there? You've got the best
We
of
talked to Mike
everything?
about that. We got some work to do, but I don't know if it needs a complete renovation.
I know, I've used that restroom, it's maintained well.
And we also have some of us have volunteered to assist in sort of the painting and touch-up and so forth to keep that.
Right.
Pleasant.
It's not up to date by any stretch.
It isn't, but we're okay. I think it's more important for the teachers and the students for us to invest in that, and then those of us who are somewhat handy can lend an elbow to Mr. Mendes to make those, a little prettier, a little more functional, and all of that. So,
I just wanted to call it out.
Thank you for
That
that.
building doesn't get any
Oh,
love
it's not-
from
It doesn't
anybody.
get any love, but you know what? Dr. Sanchioni works with, an office full of women, so we've got it under control.
Okay.
It's seasoned. So bathrooms 5 and 6, were those the ones that had books all stacked up in them? Mike, do you? Yeah,
Yes.
sort of by the social studies wing. So those are being done. And they're being done. We haven't started to take them apart yet, though, right? Those are the scary ones that we thought we're gonna find something bad in. Okay. Okay, so that's the high school. So basically, 10 bathrooms. We are not doing 2 teachers' bathrooms, sets of bathrooms. Do they each have, I know there's a boy and a girl in the staff room. Is the one on the 3rd floor, is that a? The men and the ladies. Lords and ladies, okay. And then, how many are in the nurses administration area?
And then one for, 3, 4, it's 5 in the administration.
But they're all just sort of single bathrooms or not?
Single bathroom.
So probably the equivalent of maybe doing 1 or 2 of the bigger bathrooms or something like that. Okay. Are there any more bathrooms? Because they seem to pop up without.
No, we painstakingly have walked this building and created this map for
Okay.
you, so.
There's not one sort of buried somewhere that has,
Some on the ground floor,
yeah?
all 3 together, 2 girl, boys and girls. There's also a male and a female teacher's bathroom down there. Single.
I don't see that on this.
Where is that?
That's down ground floor.
I see 7 and 8. I assume that's the ground floor drawing.
See the map, that's the high back.
Okay. Come look at the map.
It's downstairs.
Yes,
But the teachers are
yes.
identified.
They're right on the side of that 7 and 8.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, so there are a couple of singles.
Yes, there are a couple singles in there.
that are not colored or circled or anything.
No.
So there are more bathrooms. This is why I
You always
asked.
find bathrooms.
This is kind of why I asked, because it seems like every time we come to a meeting, we're like, oh, remember that other bathroom? Well, we have another one. All right, so there's more bathrooms down there. Okay. Anywhere else in the high school? There's not like one right there or anything like that, right? Okay.
On the topic, and I hate to do it,
Yes.
I'm looking at the capital plan. I just learned that there are actually restrooms outside in the fields.
Yeah,
In the booster shack.
In the shack.
we renovated
We
that
just renovated it.
last year.
Oh, we did?
We did.
We did it in-house.
Okay.
Okay. So those are functioning and don't need attention?
Yes, those two don't need attention.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other bathrooms
Not that we
anywhere?
can think of in this building.
All right, we should all go home and think about where there might be another bathroom, though, because there's got to be one somewhere. All right. So then, we go to the middle school, and so we have had, so 2 were renovated. The ones in blue are getting renovated?
Are completed other than the sinks. There's
Completed.
temporary sinks in them now, but they are functional and being used.
The yellow is future renovation.
That's the
Okay,
locker rooms.
That's sort of a pipe dream. And then pink is what? Future as in maybe someday, not currently planned for. Is that right?
That is correct, although the number 1 priority would be the 8th grade bathrooms, and
And that's what's, okay.
would have that on our capital list.
Capital list for this,
No, a future.
Casino allocation for
Should any
future.
reimbursements come
Yeah,
in,
'cause
yeah,
I don't
on
think that's
on
funding.
another stage too.
Okay.
Exactly.
so when they are completed, there will be a total of 3 pairs of bathrooms that have been done at the middle school, correct?
Correct.
And then we have 1 other student bathroom, for want of a better term, since we're calling some of them teachers and administration, which are the 8th grade bathrooms, and then we have the administration, 2 teachers, 3 teachers, and the kitchen. There's a bathroom off the kitchen, all right.
Just one question, Dr.
Yeah.
Sanchioni. The administrative bathrooms, are those shared by guidance as well?
Correct.
Okay.
And what is the status of the teachers in the administrative bathrooms at that school? I don't think I've ever been in any of them.
Used an update, the original 1976 design.
So you think?
Are they things that can be done in-house, or they need to be pulled out altogether?
Personally, I would like to see them pull out and redone. Just to give the updated.
How about impersonally?
I mean, you have all the hands-free stuff now that you didn't have back then, if nothing
Yeah.
else.
What were you saying, Lee?
Yeah, I was going to ask you again, are you talking about the administrative bathrooms here?
No, we're on the middle school.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah. So the administrative bathrooms that are sort of to the lower left of the eighth grade
Right, yes,
bathrooms.
that's what I'm looking at.
And then we're talking about, and then there's two sets of teachers' bathrooms,
Right.
and then there's a bathroom in the kitchen. Bathroom
So
in the kitchen.
Mike, those administrative bathrooms at the middle school, those are the two in the hallway.
Yeah, so through in the hallway.
Hallway in the guidance, in the.
Yeah, right outside the
office
principal's
area, main
office.
area.
Right outside.
So how many people actually use those bathrooms? It's the office staff,
Believe it or not.
the guidance people,
Teachers end up going in there and they use those bathrooms.
they go and use that bathroom.
So you got the whole wing of the
Right,
administrators.
right.
You know, the secretaries use.
Right, the administrators
And
and
a lot of
guidance
teachers walk through,
people.
they use that also.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Well, and this is, this is going to be the useful stuff we'll find when we do walkthroughs. Okay. So does anybody else, are there any other bathrooms at the middle school that you're hiding from us?
Now's the time to come clean.
Otherwise, we'll get the kids on, and they'll tell us where they are.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know about the put on, there's one in the cafeteria, that's cafeteria workers.
Kitchen.
It's on there, Mike.
Yeah, it's kitchen. Okay.
And I think, just not to be lost in this, right, the locker rooms at the middle school include a
Bathrooms.
couple of bathrooms,
Yeah.
too.
Second floor.
But they're not,
But they're not shown
As
separately
dire.
here.
They're in
Well,
yellow there.
Oh, it's
They-
part of the yellow,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
It says shower, toilet, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I finally have a handle on the bathrooms. Any other questions from anybody about the bathrooms?
That's the first, I was looking at the first. I was looking at the first. You know what I was looking for on my map? The two bathrooms outside of the cafeteria in the old teacher's dining room. Those
That
are,
should be on
don't,
the list.
would those be done?
No, those are not done. They should be on the list.
No, but they would be done, so that has to be these.
Yeah, and they're
That's the
there.
ones,
And the
yeah,
kitchen
those
people,
ones.
they have their own bathrooms, right?
I think
Yes.
Kitchen workers have two in the kitchen
They
area
have
that I
one in
remember.
each.
Yep.
One,
one single in the kitchen.
okay,
And now it's a unisex because they
Yeah.
hired a male driver.
right. And we had a male kitchen.
That's what makes it unisex? Did you hire a male driver?
Normally it was, the driver last year was female.
So then it wasn't unisex, it
Female,
was,
so
okay. So then it was a ladies' room, but now it's a lords and ladies' room, okay. All right, I've reached my peak excitement about bathrooms.
You're really excited about that.
Once the curtains stopped appearing on the agenda, I had to find something else. So, all right, any questions from anyone else? Mike, Elaine, Diane?
Thank you.
Amy, you're good? Okay. All right. So then I lost my other pseudo agenda. Rats. There it is. All right. So then I think then the only other thing, to my mind, that we have to discuss is going before the town council on the 12th. Right? Anybody else have anything else? So did they say we were on the
are.
agenda?
Yep. I submitted the documentation, I got confirmation that we are on the agenda.
Okay.
Are we posting that for a meeting?
We have not posted it as a school committee meeting.
Can we?
Yeah, we might want to.
I plan to be there, that's the reason why I'm asking.
So just in case we have a quorum and we start talking about things, we're at least covered. So, and this is really just to talk to them about submitting the stage 1 letter on the 15th. And I suppose we should vote for that as well?
Well, I do have a couple questions.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm just sort of opening the discussion, so I'll open the floor to discussion on the part of the committee. Mrs. Farnworth, do you have any questions?
So we do have in our packet a copy of a stage 1, I don't know why that phase and stage thing keeps
I don't know.
escaping me.
Me too.
The stage 1 letter that had been drafted in February of this year. Would it make sense for us to draft a new one?
Committee's prerogative, I would say to you that through Mario, that has already been submitted and accepted by him. He's just looking for a signature. I don't think he really minds that it's been dated that date.
The way I look at it is if the town council votes to move forward with the stage 1 letter, that they may very well prefer something that's got a better date. In addition to the fact that I think Mario's
Yeah.
title has changed since February?
He's still in charge of the SBA.
Isn't he like chief operating officer or something?
He has a title change, right? But
He has a title.
he's,
Like I said, it's,
I would submit to them a letter that, I think we should vote a new letter because in a sense, the February letter isn't really, I think, something that they ever took up or voted on, and they're taking up something, we're in a different sequence, so I would resubmit the letter and date, our date should be tonight really to vote on it, and then we say, this is it, take it up or not. Anything else, Diane?
nope.
Elaine?
No.
Mike?
No.
So I'm going to ask for a motion to approve a letter, stage 1 letter, with the text but dates changed, to identical to the February 8th letter. From someone would like to make that motion?
I'd like to make that motion that we draft and submit to the town council a stage 1 letter with today's date that essentially asks for the agreement of the town council to move forward with stage 1 and 2 applications.
Okay, is there a second?
Second, please.
Is there any other discussion? Mr. Dakotas?
Nope.
Mrs. Pavo?
No.
Mrs. Farnworth?
Nope.
And going to ask for a vote. Mike?
Yes?
Elaine?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so motion carries. All right. I don't know that there's, I think we've kind of exhausted the topics that I certainly wanted to discuss. Is there anything else anyone would like to bring up relating to the capital plan? That's what we're posting for. In that case, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
Second?
I don't think the motion was.
There wasn't made.
Technically, the motion wasn't made.
So you
I'm asking for.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dakotas?
Yes?
Mrs. Pavo?
Yes.
Mrs. Farnworth?
Yes.
I vote yes, and so we're adjourned. So thank you, everyone.
Okay.